Welcome on in, fight fans, to another episode of the Undercard. As always, I'm your host, Jeff Patello. First off, let me apologize about not having my episode out earlier on Wednesday there. It has just been a chaotic week for me, but unfortunately, this is a side project, and I was just not able to give the attention that it deserved. I had a few of the prelim fights looked into, but I just wasn't ready for shooting. We ran into some issues last week, some jobs that ran a little bit longer, and unfortunately got to take care of the stuff that pays the bills first. But enough about that. Let's get into the fights. Saturday night was a very fun night. I unfortunately did not get to see the undercard, but I did hear that there was a ton of good fights, and I was a little disappointed that I didn't get to see them all, but unfortunately that's the way these things go sometimes. I was away visiting a friend of mine for the weekend, which was a good thing, because I hadn't seen him in a really long time. But we had a good night, and we enjoyed the fuck out of those fights. Let me tell you, what an amazing night that was. Things kind of opened up a little bit slow between that Thiago Santos and Rakic fight. That one went the decision, and easily won by Rakic. What I did notice in that fight was that Thiago Santos is he's a changed man at this point in his career, right? And you just kind of wonder if he has rushed back a little bit too early from his double knee surgery. I mean, if you recall in that fight that he had with John Jones, I believe he destroyed the ACL in one of his knees, the MCL in the other one, had other tears throughout the knee ligaments, right? So he pretty much shot both those knees. I mean, since he's come back, we've noticed that he has had issues with his conditioning, his movement. You know, he still got a lot of power in those hands, right? But you would imagine, because he's not able to explode off of his legs, right, and explode that power from the hips down into his feet, that there's going to be a little something lost in his step. And you just wonder if he is a little bit too ahead of the curve right now. He might need to take a little bit more time off and try and recuperate properly, so that he can make a proper comeback, because it wasn't too long ago that he was putting on a hell of a performance against John Jones, and he was such a beast and a warrior in that one. And it'd be sad to see if Thiago can't kind of bounce back from those knee surgeries, but those are major surgeries. They take a really long time to heal up from. I believe just like the healing time alone is something like 9 months with rehab, and even from then you still gotta build back your strength and everything, right? And at this point you start to wonder if he'll bounce back, because he just really did not look great at all in this one. He was definitely the slower of the two. I mean, it looked like Rakic had his front leg exposed and willing to receive a kicks to the leg. It was just kind of out there for the taking, but Santos was not able to fire off as many kicks as he was. As I said, really, you notice that in his lateral movement, that there was something off. He was slow. Not to say that, everything is his game is completely diminished, because it definitely has not, right? In the first round there, Rakic and Santos got into a little bit of an exchange there, and I believe Santos hit him with a overhand shot there, and Rakic immediately felt that power and really didn't look to exchange too much. He was really looking to kind of come in, pick Santos apart a little bit, and then move back out. Out of the main card, this was probably this one was a little bit of a snooze fest, but kind of some strange shit happened at the end of this one when this one didn't go to the ground, but immediately after Rakic was awarded the victory, his teammates kind of came out and awarded him a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. So, congratulations to Rakic, but it's kind of strange when there was no ground battling going on, so yeah, that was kind of odd, but he seemed to be a lot more happy about getting that goddamn brown belt than that win, that's for sure. He was over the moon, so congratulations to him, and it'll be interesting to see who he will be fighting next. He didn't have, like I said, the most spectacular performance there, but you wonder who he's going to be fighting next at lightweight, right? You wonder if maybe a Rakic versus Reyes fight might be in the works or not, but we'll see. That is yet to remain. All right, so this next fight was in the lightweight division as well. This one was in the lightweight. The last one was in the light heavyweight. This one was Drew Dober versus Islam Amakkachev. Now, for y'all that don't know, Amakkachev is the next pretty much heir apparent to the wrestling kingdom from Dagestan, right? He's so amazing. Wow, right? He's got good striking ability. He is relentless, just like Khabib. This guy is Khabib, but a little bit better. And I know he's got a L on his record, but the way that he was able to handle Drew Dober in that fashion is just so scary. Drew Dober is no slouch by any fucking means. Did you see the size of Drew coming into that fight? The tree trunks on that kid's fucking legs are unbelievable. This kid has got great conditioning, great striking. He is knocking people out left, right, and center, and couldn't do a goddamn thing against Amakkachev. Makkachev's wrestling is just so superior. At the end of that second round, you could see the will of Drew Dober broken, beaten, and battered. Poor kid was just in some deep waters, gassed out, and was just frustrated. Didn't have no answers. He almost ended up in a crucifix at the end of that second round. The kid tried, right? There's just this guy's transitions. There's just no real holes in his games. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna give some credit to Drew here, where he almost did get crucifixed, but was able to kind of get it back up a little bit, and that was the only little bit of success that Drew tasted in this victory, and it's perplexing and it's scary because these guys are just killers. I mean, Islam Makhachev is definitely going to be fighting for a lightweight championship at the end of the year, I think, for sure. And then I don't know if many of you caught the end of the fight there, but he's calling out Tony Ferguson. He's had enough of Tony Ferguson calling out Khabib and talking shit about Khabib, even though Khabib is now retired, and it looks like he wants to kind of stomp out Tony Ferguson. And as of right now, Tony does not have a dance partner, so hopefully we will get to see these two scrap. You know, it would put a nice bow onto that whole Tony and Khabib kind of rivalry that them two had going on there for the longest time. But you know, what can I say about you know, Islam that we don't already know? You know, like, this kid is definitely going to be here for a long time, and hopefully we are going to see him fight again here shortly in the next couple of weeks, because he took absolutely no damage, looks fresh, and fuck, he could have fought another fight right after that one, that's for sure. That kid is just scary. And, you know, the confidence that DC had talking about this kid, you know, when you hear DC talk about Islam, it's not even a confident, it's not even like an arrogance that you hear in Daniel's voice. It's not even like, you know, him kind of like, showboating a little bit and kind of like pumping up the tires of like, you know, his boys and everything. You know, when he talks about Islam Makhachev, it's a thing that, like, he knows. He just fucking knows, right? And you know, like, it's just one of those things. You know, when you hear Daniel talk highly about some of these guys, right? You know, sometimes you got to take it with a grain of salt. But when you hear him speak specifically about Islam Makhachev, there is this certainty and this kind of like, he just knows what's up, right? And he just doesn't kind of like joke about it, right? And you know, the next time that he does bring it up and everyone is watching, pay close attention and you'll hear it in his voice, right? There is just a belief behind that man that he is the future of that division. And I'm going to be honest, like, this was Drew Dauber's big moment, and I had a lot of faith in Drew in this one. Drew has got a tremendous amount of striking ability, and he is good in the clinch, and he is good on the ground. But Islam Makhachev is so far superior. It's just so scary. Scary dude. All right, so our third fight of the night was the championship belt in the bantamweight division, fight between Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. Now, I was really looking forward to this one. I thought out of all the fights on the fight card that this one was going to be the one to watch. I thought this one was going to be pretty much like the one that everyone was going to be talking about for the next year, and they definitely are going to be talking about this one for the next year, but unfortunately it's going to be for all the wrong reasons, as we saw the championship change hands due to an illegal strike on the ground, which, I'm going to be honest, it's kind of a farce that this is how the UFC chose to handle this situation. Listen, I'm not going to deny the fact that Petr Yan threw that illegal knee, but I just do not like the fact that they ended up giving Aljamain the crown. There is a lot better ways that the UFC could have handled this situation. I, for one, have thought that the UFC should have made this a no contest, right? Award the win to Aljo, but don't make the man the champion. because he did not win that fight at all. If you end the fight right then and there and even give a point deduction, that fight ends in a draw. That fight at that point is 3 rounds to 1 Petr Yan. And you're going to be very hard pressed to argue that, that it's 2-2 going into that 4th round there. I mean, Aljo came out guns blazing, blew his wad early, but he was not able to do anything after that. In fact, he really didn't do much after that first 2 minutes. He ended up trying to take Petr to the ground. He ended up doing a lot of spinning elbows. Aljo knew right away that he did not have the ability to keep Petr on the ground at all whatsoever. In fact, as soon as he knew that he couldn't keep him to the ground, he was trying all kinds of these crazy strikes, these spinning elbows, and they were kind of like ill-advised because many a times in that fight, Petr had his back. And much like we saw in that Jose Aldo fight and that Uriah Faber fight, he comes at you with that high guard. He looks to break you down in the first round, kind of figure out what's going on, and then he switches gears, and then he puts that pressure on, and then he moves forward, and then he walks you down. And that's exactly what happened in this fight. Had that not happened, this was going all Petr's way 100%. This was a complete and absolute dominant performance. Now, as I had mentioned, yes, Petr did use an illegal strike. However, to lose your championship on that's not the proper way to handle that. There's got to be a much, much more effective way, because it just looks really bad. Really, really bad. I'm going to be honest. When you get knee to the head like that and you're flopping around, it looked like a lot of acting. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say I just did not like exactly what I saw go down in the ring at all. I mean, he looked, don't get me wrong, he was probably stunned and dazed, but I, for one, felt like he was playing it up a little bit. I don't know the guy personally. I don't know anything. I'm just basing on what I saw out there. And, I'm also basing it on eating a couple knees myself. And, it's of my opinion, you can eat one good solid knee and you're still good to go. But he didn't look too damaged physically. He was shaken up for sure. Eating a knee like that sucks dicks. It's not fun. But the way he had that full interview afterwards, and then he's engaging in Twitter, and then you're smiling with the belt over your shoulders on Instagram later that night. Let me tell you, if you were that fucked up and you got hit in the head like that, you ain't doing any of that shit. You's going fucking home. You's icing that bitch up, and you sleeping. You don't give a fuck if you won. It's just an ugly look. Ugly, ugly look. He said all the right things. But do you all believe it? I don't. I thought it was just a whole crock of shit. Ugly, ugly look for the UFC. Even Petr at first, apologized, try and kept it classy, and then when he saw him kind of like partying at the end of the night, then you can kind of tell that it got to Petr. And when those two meet again, Aljo's gonna have to face the wrath. There's going to be no getting out of this one, right? He's going to have to stand up and fight. things kind of got ugly. Even like Mighty Mouse was even commenting that, like, you know, when you keep sitting down in a fight, there's a problem, right? That's why, in my opinion, like throwing the knee like that didn't really bother me. Now, there's always these confusion as to, like, you know, what's a downed opponent and what's not a downed opponent. And this changes from state to state. There is no clear cut rule. And this is why things get so confusing all the time, you know. And plus, the language barrier between, you know, the referees and the fighter doesn't help. And what doesn't help either is that he's communicating with his own teammates and his teammates are giving him the wrong advice, you know. So it was just absolute chaos on all ends, and it's one that's going to need to get run back real quick, because that is just straight ugliness. And you know, I felt like a little bit of acting going on there in that one. I'm sorry to say it, but I stand by my words, right? That was just not a good look for the bantamweight division. And you know, I think Aljo's gonna have to work on them hands, you know, because clearly Jan is too good for your ground game, son. So back to the drawing board. But, you know, Petr Yan is the real deal. I told y'all, folks, to not be sleeping on this kid. I thought, you know, everyone who was saying that he was a, you know, hasn't really fought anybody great and this and that was just kind of fooling themselves, you know. And the way that he fought Jose Aldo, right? He's like, yeah, Jose Aldo may not have been the champ then, but Jose Aldo is the fucking man. And when you fight Jose Aldo in the manner that Petr did, that kind of fucking makes you the man automatically. Just saying. Well, we go from that to the co-main event, which was our second title fight of the evening. This one had Megan Anderson versus Amanda the Lioness Nunez. Well, this one went exactly how everyone thought. Amanda Nunez came in, cracked poor Megan once. Megan felt that power. If you look, she was kind of staring like a deer in the headlights once she felt that power, and it was essentially the beginning of the end. And you know, that's a 145-pound division that has been now cleaned out by Amanda Nunez. There is absolutely no one left for her to fight. I mean, possibly another Holly Holm rematch, maybe. Who knows? But that's not very interesting. Maybe a Jermaine Durandamy one, you know. Possibly that's the only two fights that Nunez has left. I guess there's always another Shevchenko battle, but I think the UFC right now has got a problem of having some of the most dominant women on the planet in their organization. And you know, there's a few thoughts that go on in my mind watching this all play out. One, first of all, the UFC does a piss poor job of grooming their talent. You know, unfortunately, if you are a fighter and you are trying to acquire skills and you're trying to learn the sport, the UFC is not the place to do it. You know, their roster is deep. They've got a lot of talented fighters, and you know, I guess they're always looking for the cream of the crop, but the UFC doesn't know how to build a division up, right? They have always been blessed to find fighters to fill divisions, but as for building up a division, I don't think that they do a good enough job, right? Here you've got a fighter in Megan Anderson, who was a former Invicta champion. She looks as though she has the power to present problems to Nunez. She looks like she's got this big, huge reach advantage. However, she just doesn't have the time that Nunez has rolling around with killers, you know. I believe that was Megan's only 13th pro MMA fight, and she's fighting already Amanda Nunez. You know, it's not to take anything away from Megan. Megan is a talented fighter. She's young, right? She has got a bright future ahead of her. It's just shit like this where you knock the confidence down of young fighters for no apparent reason, all because I think it's a little bit of pride and ego. I don't know if many of y'all recall, but back in the day, Dana White once did business with a promotion called Pride FC. Now, in this fight, there was a light heavyweight tournament going on, and we were all hoping that we were going to see a Chuck Liddell versus Vanderlei Silva final in Pride. However, Chuck Liddell ran into Quinton Rampegia Jackson and got his ass whooped. And I think ever since then, that has always been a sore spot for Dana White, and probably will be the reason why we will never get to see a cross promotion, because at this point, there is no fight that I want to see Amanda Nunez in. Who is she? You know, what is the most interesting fight that is out there right now? And there is only one fight that I can think of that I want to see Amanda Nunez in, and that is a fight against Kayla Harrison from the PFL. You know, I think that would be amazing. But even then, Kayla Harrison probably needs a little bit more seasoning before she goes in against a killer like this. And that's the problem, right? Is that there's just really nobody else to fight, right? So I think the only thing that's left is after Shevchenko wins, Shevchenko needs to go and defend her belt against Lauren Murphy. If she defeats Lauren Murphy, then we've got a Shevchenko versus a Nunez fight, right? And then after we've got Shevchenko Nunez 3, then maybe we can go and do a Nunez versus Holly again, right? Give Holly that last crack that she's probably been looking for. Holly's been going on a tear. And then we do Nunez versus Durandamy again. Those are the only viable options they have for Amanda right now. Other than that, everything else is bullshit. Don't want to see it. Don't care. Nobody else really deserves a crack at that crown. Right? It's time to start doing cross promotion. We need to see her fight people from PFL. We need to go and see her fight, you know. I want to see her fight Cyborg again. All right? I want to see her go over and fight a Julia Budd. Right? I want to see her fight, you know, the top from ONE FC, right? It's time. Need to make that push. It can't be the way that it's been, because like I've said, these women's divisions are becoming quickly stagnant. And you know, the UFC has got the best women on the planet. But it's so crazy how far the talent is between the champ and all the contenders. Yeah. Anyways, enough about that. On to the main fight. Well, how many of y'all saw Jan Blachowicz winning that fight? I know I didn't expect it. I bet nobody saw that coming. That's that was a very technical fight between these two individuals. Stylebender came in a little bit light, and as this fight got longer and longer, it might have come back to bite Izzy in the ass, as Jan looked to have had complete control of him on the ground in the fifth and final round there. Jan looked early for the takedown in the fight. However, it wasn't there. And he was just patient, Blachowicz fought a very, very smart fight, a very patient fight, did not make too many mistakes, and when he did, he was able to correct those on the fly. A little disappointment for Israel losing this one. There was a lot of buzz in the MMA world. I'm sure we were all hoping to see the Stylebender win this one because, let's be honest, we are all hoping for a Israel versus Jon Jones fight. I mean, let's be honest here. That we all wanted Israel to win that one because we all hope to see Israel and Jon Jones. And unfortunately, with that L, I don't think we're going to be seeing that Jon Jones and Izzy fight anytime soon. That's for sure. I think now it just switches Jon Jones' focus to the heavyweight division and what needs to be done there. At the end of this one, during the press conference, Dana White did say that he thinks it's probably best if Izzy drops back down to 185 and takes care of business down there. However, it does seem like it is a division that has been kind of cleaned out. Now, that division itself needs to settle down and kind of figure out who is the clear number one. I think we've got a Whitaker in the mix. We've got a Darren Till in the mix. Who else do we have there in the mix? I forget. I know there's like one more guy that's just like right there. Definitely not Paulo Costa, because that shit was embarrassing. But you can bet that Paulo Costa was quick to get onto the Twitterverse there and make it known that he was watching that fight. He was asking if Izzy had a little bit of wine too. What an embarrassing situation. For all y'all that don't know, Bohashinya came out earlier in the week and was crying that, he was tired and he needed a little bit of glass of wine, and pretty much he was drunk for that fight against Israel. I mean, someone needs to take control of this guy's Twitter account, because that is the most lamest fucking excuse I have ever heard. And the fact that the guy is still, shook about that, just lets you know how much that is fucking haunting him, that loss. And rightfully so. That was an embarrassing one. I was really looking forward to that Izzy fight, and that just was a bust. I'm going to be honest, the last three Izzy fights have been kind of meh. This one was a technical battle, so this one was okay. This one was his best of his last three, I would say. Excuse me. That one previously with, what was it? Izzy's last fight was with Bohashinya. And that one wasn't interesting, and that wasn't like because of Stylebender's fault. It was just the way Bohashinya came out to fight him. And then same with like that other fight that he had against Yoel Romero, right? Just the way he came out, right? So it's been weird. At least he finally got an opponent that kind of like engaged with him, right? So this was a lot more entertaining than we've gotten in the last couple of fights with Israel. But it was a interesting and strange night I'm still baffled by this whole Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling thing. I think it was just very, very, very strange, odd events, and just everything that followed afterwards. It's just left me so perplexed and, my head scratching. All right, y'all. That's it. Thank you for sitting in on this episode, and we will have a fight prediction this week. Peace.